Welcome, Bay Community. Tonight we have a very special guest. She is a patient at Bay Community Health and a financial advisor, and was kind enough to talk with us this evening about, financial planning, financial stuff. I'll let her get into the details related to parenting. And she knows this because she is a parent herself. In fact, she was a young parent, so she really had to figure all this stuff out early. And I am very excited to have her tonight. So Marcel, thank you so much for being here with us tonight, and I will let you go from here.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so I was, 17 when I found out my daughter was on the way, 18 when I had her. Now my daughter's a mom, she's 20. And at age 37, I became a grandmother and an empty nester. And yeah, so I got a financial plan done a few years ago by chance. We don't really Google this stuff. We don't look for financial advisors. We kind of, as parents, think that we have to do everything ourselves. We make ourselves the resource for everything we have to do. And that can be really taxing and draining. And being a parent is awesome. It's so rewarding, and there's so much love there, but it's also heartbreaking, and it impacts our finances. So part of the reason why I started doing this is because I really do want to help parents plan for their futures and their children, and kind of let somebody like me help plan it. There's no charge or any cost for a conversation or have a plan done. But then you can kind of enjoy life knowing that things are in place, so that if something doesn't go our way, then at least there's some kind of risk protection and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
That's wonderful. While you're getting your screen set up, I think that's so important because there's so many people that come through my office that finances are a big stressor.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, when people are getting together, they're not thinking about that. And so, it's such if financial stress is such a huge, it's one of the biggest things that comes into play when people are dealing with divorce and partner situations. And so, if you can kind of get yourself kind of in a good place, or at least have some good footing, right? I think that's so helpful. And it's not just helpful, for your financial environment, but it's helpful for your mental health, because if you don't understand where your finances are, you can become extremely anxious. And I deal with people like that. And there's only so far I can go, right? And there's only so much I can do with therapy, where really sometimes you need those financial skills. So thank you so much for doing this. And I will stop talking so that you can get to it.
All good. And I'm happy to be a resource for anybody. I will leave my phone number available if anybody just wants to chat. Even if it's just trying to cut back on expenses and without having to give up your normal lifestyle. So this PowerPoint slide, it really gears towards new parents, but I'm going to really make this about all parents. Children of all ages. Our babies grow up too fast anyway. So, so I'm just happy to be here. So when we're first having our child, we don't really know how much that child will impact our finances. I'm sure all of you parents are already being impacted. You already know the day-to-day field trips and, going back to school, and, maybe they get hurt or sick and you have to take off work.
Or diapers. I mean, diapers are
Yeah,
ridiculously expensive. I mean,
yeah,
right off the
absolutely.
get-go.
Diapers, formula. My daughter's breastfeeding. I tried to breastfeed. That was hard to try to do. So I had to buy formula. It was a lot. And then not to mention, college, if that's even optional, it can be really tough. In fact, um, many adults that are currently in retirement are having to, because of so many people being in student debt, are actually having to spend their retirement money helping their adult children between the ages of 18 and 34 with their regular living expenses. And right now, the environment we're in with Gen Z wanting more control over their mental health and not wanting to have that stress and burden over work, I can only imagine what stress they're going to have financially. So I think that's some really important conversation to have at home. So I think,
Absolutely. And part of that too, like just thinking about it, mean, I remember when and like, I'm not giving up my age, but when I was a kid, you know, dinosaurs walked the earth. Anyway, just kidding. But I mean, you got out of the house pretty quickly. Like you did
Oh,
not
yeah.
stick around. Like if you went to college, like you were at, like when you came back, like pretty much it was expected that once you graduated college, very shortly thereafter, you were on your own. And for a lot of
Right.
my friends, it was like right after high school. And I feel like with each generation, it gets a little bit longer. So all of a sudden, these parents that kind of plan to take care of another human or several other humans until they were 18 is now going to 20 to 25 to 30 to 35. You know, they have to plan for a lot longer to have to
Yeah,
take care of people, or it switches, right? So then they go taking care of one human, and then that human has a human, right? Like, so now they're taking care of grandkids, and it's just a very different environment. And no, I'm not casting shade. Like I mean, honestly, in a lot of ways, in that younger generation, I was like, man, I wish I had stayed home longer and saved that money. But it's
yeah,
just different from a parent perspective. Now I'm like, okay, gosh, how long are my kids? Like, what do I need to plan for? So
yeah.
yeah.
No, that's a really good point. I'm having more clients that are, in their early 20s or even 30. They're still at home. They have very good jobs. They do all of their traveling. They're on a budget. And a lot of them, I'm gonna be honest, a lot of the wealthier families that have a habit of already having a financial advisor, like a family financial advisor, where I'm noticing that the families that struggle less, it's because meeting your family financial advisor at, a teenage year wasn't optional. And I think with most of us that didn't have that, it wasn't a normal part of the conversation. And it wasn't at my dinner table, like talk to a financial advisor. It was go get a job. You're out of my house at 18, especially if you have an attitude problem. Oh no, you're not staying here. So then we are forced to grow up faster, but then we don't have that head start, and we leave the house and we're having to really try to make ends meet, or we're working multiple jobs, and then our child is having to be home by themselves after school. Or, like if you ask my daughter, she raised herself. She didn't do a very good job. She's Gen Z. No, I'm kidding. But, it was really tough. I was a single mom um at age 20 and had rent to pay and had to pay bills, and really having multiple jobs wasn't an option. So I can only imagine what the parents are going through. Even if you have two incomes today, it's still inflation is, higher than it ever has been. And even though inflation has slowed down, so there's a difference between deflation and disinflation. Disinflation
Oh,
is yeah. So disinflation is where inflation is slower. So it's still inflating, it's just a slower rate.
okay.
Deflation is where prices come back down, which almost never happens. And right now we're in a pretty low tax environment. So the analysts are telling us that taxes are going to go one of two ways. They're going to either go up or they're going to go way up. So we really have to
Oh,
brace ourselves, for that. And then when we're trying to buy a home, normally what happens is when interest rates go up, the prices come down. And then when the interest rates go down, the prices go up. And what we're
and we're
seeing
not
right
seeing
now,
that right now, right?
no, right now we're seeing
Because
homes, they're
prices
both.
were going up when inflation or whatever, the interest rate was really
Mhm,
low, and then the interest rate
mhm.
went up and the prices didn't drop.
Right. That's exactly what happened.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So, I'm huge on meeting any client where they're at. My youngest client is 11 years old. He's my little brother. Yeah,
oh, that's
he
great.
he sells stuff on eBay, and he had like 4 meetings with me before he decided to like get himself some life insurance, which I'm happy to talk about that, because that's really the protection piece is huge, because when things don't go our way, if we don't have that savings, you're gonna even if you do, you're gonna drain your savings. If something drastic happens, like what happens if one of your kids pass away? Or I can't tell you how many funerals I went to for teenagers a few years ago. So or disability, or income
I think that's
drops.
a big one too. Like people, I don't think I have two elderly parents,
Mhm.
and they were very healthy for, I mean, they're in their late 80s and early 90s. So, and they have been healthy for the majority of that time. And it's amazing to me for people that were so savvy money wise, they didn't really think about the fact like, oh, at some point I'm going to get sick. Like, I think
Mhm.
they just thought there was going to be a day and then they weren't going to be here anymore. They didn't really think about like, oh, well, what if I get dementia? Or what
Right.
if I have some like chronic debilitating disease when I'm older, which is,
Yeah.
with an aging population happens more frequently. And okay, how am I going to pay for this? So
Yeah.
my mom did invest in, I'm sure, you could probably talk, maybe not more tonight, but like, my mom did get some plan of like some sort of assisted care kind of
Mhm.
plan. But when
Yeah.
my siblings and I read through it, it was so restrictive. It was like,
Yeah.
okay, you only get it if you meet like X, Y, and Z criteria, and they're not there, but they're like so close. And I
Yeah.
don't know, it's very interesting. So, I mean, I know for me, even though my husband and I are very healthy right now and our kids are little, we're already like, I'm like, okay, what retirement community are we going to be in? And
Mhm.
like, how are we going to set up to make sure that we have plenty of money to like take care of us
Yes.
even medically? Like, even though I'm trying to take the best care I can of myself now, oh my gosh.
Right. Right.
Anyway,
Absolutely. It's funny you mentioned that we do things like long-term care planning for that. We even have a retirement analysis system. So as of today, like what you're doing now, it'll show an analysis of based on what you're doing now, this is what retirement looks like. And based on the lifestyle you want in retirement, this is what we recommend to get you there. So, and
that's
we would
great.
even, yeah, we even let you know, like in today's dollars, like if you stopped working today, how much do you need today for us to invest for you so that you can live up until whatever age you think you're going to live to. So, and there's no charge for anything like that. So I'm happy to just hop on calls. I even tell people how to save money in gas, like certain gas stations, actually cost less. So during the pandemic, my grandmother and I did an experiment. You can always experiment to see which gas stations will give you more mileage per tank. Um, so for me, it was Seneco that gives you it's a cleaner gas. So I even asked the manager one day and I said,
Interesting.
yeah, yeah, we got 50 miles extra per tank.
50, 50.
50.
Not like 1 5, but 50.
No,
That's
50.
significant.
Yeah, so actually the one right here in Lothian, the Seneco right here in Lothian, I asked the manager, I said, did you know that I get better gas mileage with your gas? And she said, yeah, because ours is cleaner with less filler, so it burns slower. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. Who
They
knew?
need to
So as a parent, when you're having to drive your kids back and forth to school and doctor's appointments and field trips, like the little small little tweaks will make a huge difference in your finances later. So
That's a really good tip. I love it.
yeah, yeah. And let's see what we have. How can you plan for costs? So um Dr. Cord, I'm happy to send you a copy of like a budget sheet that I can send out.
I would love that. Is
So
it okay if we post it on our Facebook page after?
absolutely, you can totally share it.
Awesome.
When you type in your expenses, it automatically adds it up for you. You put in your after tax monthly income. And we always recommend like a 60-20-20 ratio. So 60% for fixed expenses, 20% for like your fun money, right? Because you still want to have a life while you're trying to save. And then 20% for savings, which includes like your life insurances and then your savings account, your Roth IRAs, your just basically that money that's gonna we can strategically like plan out. And then on another call, I'm happy to go over like the 4 buckets of where you can put money, how it's taxed, um, and when you can access it and things like that.
Awesome. I love that. Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you say like, so if like 40% you're putting towards like savings and fun. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of people don't think of it that way. Like they're like, oh, I make whatever, like,
Mhm.
$1,000 a week or whatever. So like,
Mhm.
and or maybe I make, $2,000 a month or something like that. And they're like,
Mhm.
well, my rent is $800, and so I'm making $2,000, and then so I have plenty of spare money, and they really don't factor in like, oh, well, wait a minute, like I'm almost at half just with my rent, and then I
Mhm.
still need gas and this and that
Yeah.
and the other that
Groceries
are
and
like, yeah, like car, my car payment and this and that. So
yeah,
that's really good to think about. I like that.
absolutely. And the biggest expense right now that I see people spending on is groceries and eating out. Um, and I think that we tend to underestimate how much we actually spend at the grocery store. I'm pretty frugal, and 150 doesn't go that far
Feel
anymore.
like you're spending it on like a need, right? So, in
Mhm.
my office, I do like my needs, wants, and nevers, right? So like the needs are like
Mhm.
things you need, right? And as
Right.
parents, we often teach our kids, like, is this a need or a
Mhm.
want, right? And your kids are like,
Right.
everything's a need. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, the Nintendo Switch is not a need. Your cell phone is not a need. But
Yeah.
anyway, um,
I'm glad
and
you mentioned the cell phones. Yeah.
yeah. Well, yeah. And so I think it's interesting because when you go to the grocery store, you're just thinking like, oh, I'm buying food and food is a necessity. Therefore, it's a
Mhm.
need. So you don't really think about what you're spending
Right.
unless you're really, really in a tight bind. But like for a lot of us where we're kind of like, we're comfortable, but we still would like to save more.
Mhm.
And you think about, gosh, you can hear Bentley in the background. She's going nuts tonight. Um, anyway, yeah, like, so you don't think about groceries, but I have to tell you, one thing I've definitely seen is post-COVID, like post-pandemic, the cost of eating, like getting delivery food
Oh yeah.
has and fast food has skyrocketed. I don't really
Mhm.
get fast food that often, but I do have small children, so the occasional like Chick-fil-A is a huge
Yeah.
hit. And
Right.
some days I just need that win, right?
Mhm.
And man, that's gone up.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd ever spend $40 at McDonald's.
Right. Right. And a lot of it is, so I have a food and beverage company that I own with my daughter, and beverages at the restaurants are were the biggest. So I did um a research project when I was getting my master's in business, and the beverages is what really makes the most profit for the restaurants. So like McDonald's is a very low profit business model, but because they do so much high volume and they sell so much of it, that's why they're so profitable with the beverages too. So you can always go to like McDonald's or Chick-fil-A, or my favorite is Chipotle. I get a single taco. They still use the big spoon, so you'll be surprised as to how big they fill that thing up, and just get a cup of water, and that will really reduce expenses too.
Oh yeah, their
And
burritos there, I used to call it a football of food. Like it was just a
oh,
massive
that was
amount
my
of food.
favorite thing for years. Yeah, that was my favorite thing to eat for years. Was the burrito. That was back when I was like not really conscious about my spending, and it was like,
Right.
I just use
Or
my
conscious about how much we ate, right? Like back when that was a thing.
right. Yeah. Yeah, because back then being healthy, it got more popular now, but back then nobody
Yeah,
paid
for sure.
attention. Um, and then there's an app called Too Good to Go, where, because there's so much restaurant waste right now. At the end of the
Yeah.
day. And so if you, it's TOO, too good, no, TOO for too good, and then two is TO. So it's just spelled out how it sounds, Too Good to Go. For a very low cost, like between $4, $5, or $6, you can get a mystery bag, and the restaurant will literally just make you a care package of their leftovers that they were going to throw away anyway. So it saves the planet, saves waste, but it also is a whole meal. And then you just pick up your meals. Like Cava in Annapolis is on there. You can pick it up at, I mean, they don't close till 9:45, but there's a pizza place by Joanne Fabrics that's also on the app. So you can really like still like do that fun stuff, and occasionally it's kind of fun to see who has what available at certain times, but that's a huge savings too on food.
I love that. Yeah, I was like the closest thing I can think of. I had never heard of that before, and that's amazing. That's such a great savings there, especially for people that work late anyway. Like, why not do that?
Right.
And then,
Yeah, and you just come home with stuff for the kids and
yeah, we used to do something that was oh gosh, now I'm forgetting what it was called. But it's basically, it was like the equivalent was called like ugly food. And it was
Mhm.
produce, but you got all the produce that wasn't good enough to go in the
Oh
grocery store.
yeah.
Like
Yep.
it had like, it wasn't even like bruised or moldy or old. It wasn't anything like that. It was
It
just
was
like,
shaped funny, right?
yeah, it was like misshapen. So you get like fat,
Yeah.
short carrots. And I'm like, they're
Hmm.
still carrots. Who cares? They
Yeah.
taste the
I love
same.
that stuff.
And it was so much cheaper.
Hmm.
And maybe by the end of this, I will remember the name of that. But yeah, continue. Sorry, these are great,
Oh,
great.
good. Yeah, absolutely. Um, so today, I'm not going to go over all these topics today. But just know that we can do any of this stuff, whether it's just regular budgeting, going over long-term goals, college expenses, investing. I get a lot of clients that they're like, Marcel, I would love to talk to you, but I don't have a lot of money to invest. All good. We will get you there. You know, my sweet spot is helping families put together a budget, especially for married couples. It's a really good conversation to have together. That way you're planning together, because there's a lot of good questions that come up in those meetings that you kind of almost either too embarrassed to talk about, didn't think about, maybe you thought about, didn't feel comfortable about. So we talk a lot about like the risk protection, you know, we do talk about income protection, you know, making sure that if you become disabled, a big thing that we cover, and that would be like, what if you get in a car accident? What if you develop chronic pain at some point, or migraines, or develop depression? All of those things can really get you out of work for an extended period of time. And we have, you know, things that can help with planning for that. We do talk about life insurance. A lot of people get afraid to talk about life insurance. They don't want to imagine their loved one passing away, or heaven forbid something happens to you. Like, how would your family like make it? What if you had to bury your child? I mean, the stress of that alone is like, don't not only devastating, but like, who can think about going back to work when you're grieving someone that you love? Um, so my job is to just see where you're at, help you through it. And there's always ways to figure out, even cell phones. I mean, there's a company called Visible. Their cell phone plans start at $25 a month. So, you know, if, you know, some people have cable, and there's ways to, you know, still watch TV and not have to pay $200 a month on cable, you know. So there's so many different ways to really just still have a good life, um but you can just kind of make small little tweaks so that you can still have a good life, but also still plan for your financial future. And then you'll sleep better at night. You'll wake up feeling more refreshed. I mean, when I started working with my financial advisor, initially I felt good knowing that the plan was in place, but it wasn't until I was making major changes, and that I called him like 2 years later, and I was like, you know what, more people need to know about this stuff. You know, so this is a example of what the budget sheet looks like. I'm going to send you a copy of it, Dr. Court, and you're welcome to post it so that people can use it. It
Awesome,
really
thank
helps to
you.
put it, absolutely. It really helps to put a clear picture, like, okay, where's all of our money going at the end of every month? And then it tells you what your monthly balance is at the end. You can put your fund stuff, your emergency fund, your savings, dining out, and then it really tells you, okay, what's left at the end of the month. And then you can choose where to cut. And also the biggest thing that I see people that they should be saving on is auto insurance. You should always shop around at least every 6 months. I have a connection to a guy that's really great. He's a broker. He shops around. I don't get anything out of making the connection. I just love helping people save money. And so this is just kind of like the guideline of what we recommend. So saving and investing should be about 20%. Discretionary expenses is like, you know, charities, personal care, dining out, the fun stuff that you choose what to do with. So I tell people all the time, like, okay, 60% should be your expenses, 20% you spend however you want, 20% of where your money goes is my business. So this is kind of just a guideline of what I recommend for people. And then if you have kids that are like teenagers and they're getting their first job, tell them, listen, you're going to talk to a financial advisor. And, you know, I do have younger teenagers, they have more discretionary income than they'll ever have. So if they develop that habit while they're young, they get used to only living on 80% of what they have. You'd be surprised. The statistics show if you start at 25, and I can probably find a diagram, but the younger you are when you start, the easier it is to
Yeah.
retire with. Because honestly, retiring with $1 million is not optional anymore. Um,
Yeah, well,
I
we're
mean,
living longer, right? So back to what we were talking about before, we're living longer, which sometimes means is healthy, sometimes doesn't. But, you know, so it's not like, you know, and retirement age hasn't changed that much.
mhm.
Um, And we're now in this world where like Social Security isn't a given anymore. Like it is still, but they keep kind of looming this like, oh, like
Be
boomers were
around.
a large population and Gen X was small. And,
Hmm.
if the generations aren't bigger, like we don't have any, it's kind of scary that like you really do want to make sure that you're planning for taking care of yourself and not depending on like federal funding because it might not be there.
It's so true. It's so funny you say that because that's absolutely what every time we do a financial plan, we ask our clients how much percentage of of your Social Security do you think you're going to get? You know, some people say 100%, but really you only get 100% if you work until you're 70. So you can get it as early as 62, but then if you wait till you're 65, you get more. But then if you wait till you're 70, you get the most. Um,
Right.
so I'm going to show you this really interesting down market diagram. This is a real life example of what happened. Remember the internet back in like the early 2000s? What happened with the market, the stock market? So this is an example of somebody retiring in 2001 at age 65 with $1 million. And basically, this is their retirement account. They had $1 million to live off of for the rest of their life. But in the first 2 years, they took out 60K per year. But the market was down. So even though they only took out 120,000 in 2 years, they lost 1/4. So right here,
Yeah.
the balance went down. They lost
Wow.
yeah, they lost almost a 500,000 in just the first 2 years because when the market is down, that's when you don't want to pull money out of the market.
Yeah.
So we show people how to develop a cash reserve, not just savings, but there's other vehicles where you can put your money where it grows tax free. Um, and so basically, this person took all of their money every single year. And by age 84 in 2020, they're basically out of money.
I was gonna say, and
So,
that would be really scary to see because if you're 84 and healthy, which I know several 84-year-olds that are very healthy, and you're
mhm,
looking at that and going, oh my God. And and the reality is that like if you're lucky, you have maybe kids that, you can be in an in-law suite and that will save some money. But reality is like that's not an option for most people. And going back to work really isn't an option. I mean, I have some patients that, are working at 70 and they feel very fortunate that they're working. They're like, yeah, like I shouldn't even be in the workforce right now. And yeah,
yeah,
it's nuts. Yeah.
it's scary. It's so scary because things are costing more. So
Yeah.
even retiring with 1 million sounds like a lot, but what if you live past 85? So I'm going to show you another example. The same next page. Oops. Next page. All right. So this is the same exact example. The only difference is that same person pulled money from a different source in the down market. So you see in 2001, so 1, 2, 3 years here, the first 3 years, they pulled from somewhere else. So when the market was down, they left it alone. And when the market recovered, they had a little over 1 million in there. In 2009, they took a partial distribution and then took the rest from safe money again. And then they did it again in 2019. So at age 84, instead of running out of money like the last person, this person had still over $1 million left over. And that's just making small tweaks throughout your working
Wow.
years. Yeah.
That's
So
like something that's so seemingly small has such a huge impact. Wow.
yeah, absolutely. And I do hear about young people today that they're like, oh, I invest in, heaven forbid, cryptocurrency. And we don't, as advisors, we never even recommend that. It's not even regulated. We're not even, but it's like, well, what would happen? Like, there's other ways to grow, and that is still taxed. I have a bookkeeper who that she has to have her clients pay taxes on that stuff. So we have vehicles that help in better ways, I should say. Um, but yeah, I mean, being a parent is awesome. It's so rewarding, but even when your kid moves out and gets married, they're still like needing us at times. So it can be
Oh,
tough.
yeah.
Yeah. hmm even my daughter, 'cause she's like, I love her so much, but she's also in that generation where she's like, Mom, I saw you work all the time. I don't want to be like that. I want to be a present mom. I want to be there for the baby. And I'm like, that's great that you want to do that. But you're also in a time, 20 years ago, working from home was never a thing. That wasn't even an option. Um, and now you have this generation that they're so, and I don't know if they're just so overwhelmed from just, I mean, I read earlier today where their brains are so stimulated from so much social media and so many videos on like TikTok and there's so many marketing. Yeah, I mean, we're getting so much more thrown at us on a day to day. That's really mentally taxing too. That it's almost making working from home even more difficult because there's so many distractions now.
Oh, 100%. I just read an article. The conversation so timely. I just read an article today was talking about who was it was Wells Fargo actually.
Hmm
Speaking of financial stuff.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo just fired a bunch of people for using the mouse jigglers. So this is something that you can buy on Amazon to jiggle your mouse to make sure that it
hmm
looks like on Microsoft Teams you're still active and doing stuff,
Still active. Yeah.
right? And it was, and so in first review, you're kind of like, oh my gosh, that's so like people are just trying to cheat the system, blah, blah, blah.
hmm
But having worked from home, when I was not doing, kind of like clinical work full time and doing other corporate stuff, it
Yeah.
was as long as you like they expect you to have a computer and be online 24/7. And
hmm
so and that was kind of what the article was about, was that it, nowadays, if you are working remote, there are many companies that expect you to be online so much that you're
Yeah.
never off. And so they were saying that the jigglers were more of an indication of how companies are putting too much pressure on people. And so there's this backlash. People are trying to find ways around it just to create some sort of balance. Anyway,
God.
so it'll be interesting to see how all that pans out, right? But
Yeah.
in the meantime, like we have to find jobs and we have to figure out a way to make a living.
Right.
And then once if we decide to have kids, like how you make it work, I'm blown away right now. I will tell you. So I have an 8 and 11-year-old,
hmm
soon to be 9 and 12. And
Yeah.
so my husband and I both work. We are in the throes of the sports and like club world.
Yeah.
I I mean, I grew up in a very rural area. We had, softball and baseball and
hmm
softball and baseball. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
When you were really little, you had like kiddo soccer, but then that was it until high school.
Yeah.
So there wasn't, Little League didn't cost that much. Now I'm blown away at how much I'm spending on, you know, just rec sports. And then if you decide to join club team, that's a whole nother world. I mean, we're spending a vacation's worth amount of money just to have our kids in sports throughout the year.
Right. Right.
And at least for me, I'm a big believer in sports and activity. It doesn't even need to be like a field sport,
hmm
cheerleading or dance or even
Anything to keep us
drama. I'll
busy.
put drama, like all this stuff that's extracurricular. Just
hmm
movement in general. It's so important for
Yeah.
your overall health. And so I'm a
Yeah.
big proponent of it, but I have to tell you, I'm struggling right now because I feel like it's a need, I'm not paying attention to how much I'm spending.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it and now I'm paying attention because it's getting more and more expensive. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a
Yeah.
much bigger bill than I expected.
hmm
Anyway,
It's true. Back when I had my daughter in extracurricular activities, she was in like dance and drama and I sewing classes, and I literally had to work on weekends so she would visit her. I was a single mom, so she would visit her dad on weekends, and the weekends was my time to work a part-time job to go pay for those things. And I realized my all of that part-time weekend work was going towards that stuff. But then if we don't put them in things, then we run into other issues. Like they could, if they're not busy, if our kids aren't busy, they're gonna go entertain themselves and get into
Or they're
trouble.
going to be on TikTok all day, which I
Right,
will tell you, I have
exactly.
far too many kids in my office that are on screens all the time. And the biggest
Mhm.
battle I have with them is like, I'll talk to them, I'm like, okay, well, what's your social network? They're like, oh, my friends on the computer. I'm like, have you ever met them? No, they're my best friends. I'm like,
Yeah.
when things go bad, like, do you like jump on Fortnite or whatever, like Clash of Clans and tell them like, hey, my parents are fighting? Like, no, like, okay. So let's
Yeah.
define friends for a second.
Right.
Yeah, no, these kids that are on screen, like, and we're kind of diverting for a second, but like, yeah, so I think it's important to find these extracurricular activities, but
Yeah.
they cost money.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So,
I,
yeah.
I think I think another good way to keep them busy is volunteer work. There's
I love
like
you saying that, by the way. It's almost like I planted a seed for you to say that. I did not, just clear, but that is something I tell people so often to get out of depression, to help kids understand like work ethic and get perspective is
yeah,
volunteer work. So please continue. Go ahead.
absolutely. I remember I once took my daughter to Martha's Table in DC, where basically you're prepping meals and then giving them to the homeless. So there's a lot of things like that that can really get them out of the house.
I
And
think that
honestly,
one's, go ahead.
mhm. Oh no, oh well, I was gonna say my daughter to this day didn't told me she didn't like that I kept her so busy with all those extracurricular activities. And I don't know whether it helps her become who she is or not. It probably did because she's very social, but I'm like, if the kids are like screaming like I don't want to go to whatever sport it is, maybe see if they find joy in some kind of volunteering.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I was just gonna say something like making meals for the homeless.
Mhm.
What I find really cool about that, so like any type of volunteer work, I'm a huge proponent of for mental health. In fact, I did a whole talk on that one night. Um, but one thing I find particularly good is when you volunteer to do something with other people, especially things like the homeless, it
Mhm.
changes people's perspective. Because especially for like that middle class, like suburban kid, they
Mhm.
don't really understand what it means to be homeless. And they also don't
Right.
understand who's homeless. So suddenly when they talk to someone who's like, oh, well, I have a full-time job and I'm doing all this stuff. And they're like, wait, you're homeless? You have a full-time job? Like, I thought homeless people were people that were, addicts and,
Mhm.
they're awful people or whatever. Like, they just come up with these ideas in their head. You're like,
Yeah.
no, this is somebody that got in a car accident, couldn't work anymore, and couldn't support their
Mhm.
family, so had to leave their family just so that, like all these
Absolutely.
stories, and they're heartbreaking. Not
Mhm.
everyone's like that, but it gives you new perspective on what it means to be homeless and who could be.
Right. A lot of people don't realize disability is the cause of 48% of foreclosures.
Wow.
And yeah, yeah, it's
So back to
insane.
finances, that's a huge thing. You got to plan for that, right?
Yeah.
Even though you don't think, and especially when you're younger, you never think you're going to get sick.
All
You're,
right.
completely like you're, invincible. But the
Mm-hmm.
likelihood of something happening is highly likely. Like if you're a betting person in Vegas, it's way better to
Mm-hmm.
bet on the fact that you might have something happen to you that is debilitating.
Right. And it costs less to insure yourself when you're young. When I
Yes.
can't tell you how many clients I have that are older and they're like, "Ah, I wish somebody approached me when I was in my 20s. I wish I knew about this when I was in my 20s." Not that it's too late, it's just so much easier when you're young. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I was in my 20s last week, but it just because the time just goes so fast.
Me too. And then I do the math,
Yeah.
and I'm not real happy about that math.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Man, if only I had done this sooner.
So what other, we're kind of, I mean, time has flown. what other tips would you like to put out there for parents? Kind of as we close up, because I'll be very
Mhm.
honest, I don't know if Zoom is going to cut me off at 45 minutes or at an
Oh,
hour,
all
because
good.
lately it's been cutting me off early and I have to fix my settings. But anyway,
Okay. I'll just give my contact info if anybody wants to chat.
oh,
I'm an open book. My personal cell phone number is 301-651-0731. Um, and I can also be emailed at marcel.folk@nm.com. And I'm happy to email you my info. And if anybody just wants to talk or just have a plan done or just maybe just unpack some things that have been stressing them out financially. I can guarantee there's not a financial stressing situation that I haven't seen before or I haven't lived. So there's no, it's no judgment, this is an open space.
that's awesome. And so I would invite you once we post something on Facebook, because
Okay.
we do that for these sessions. Please respond to the Facebook and put your contact information out there. So
Awesome.
that way, a lot of our community will watch these videos after the fact, or they'll go to Facebook after, because unfortunately 6 to 7 doesn't work for everyone. And even though we try and be consistent, it's hard.
Yeah.
And we've tried different times, that doesn't work. Anyway, I won't get
Yeah.
into that, but
Life happens.
life happens for sure, especially as parents, right?
Oh, yeah.
So um, tell me a little bit as we kind of close out, how does it work? If someone were to get into contact with
Mhm.
you, what do they expect? I know you've said that some of the conversations are free. So
Mhm.
let's say I'll come up with a generic client of mine. I've had several like this.
Mhm.
You talked about like new parents. Okay. So say it's somebody they have a partner, they've um they just found out they're pregnant, so they're like planning for a family, or maybe they're a little bit further along. Maybe they've had kids for a while, but the kids they're just about to get to school age. So the
Mhm.
partner that has stayed home to take care of the kids and they kind of scrape by and figured out make it work is thinking about going back to work.
Got it.
And I have suggested to them, because I have done this with several people before,
Mhm.
I really think you need to talk to a financial advisor about where you are currently.
Yeah.
So how does that work? If they were to reach out to you, what can they expect?
So we would schedule an hour, about an hour Zoom meeting. The first meeting can be over the phone if that's what they prefer, but I would definitely recommend at least the second meeting being on Zoom so that I can share my screen and show them some things. So basically it would just be, you know, making sure that we cover whatever they want to cover. Have they ever spoken to a financial advisor before? What are some things that they want covered? What are their goals in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? We really just unpack a lot. I ask a lot of questions. I want to get to know them more, just kind of figuring out, okay, where are you at?
Okay.
Then I show them, okay, this is where you can go based on your goals and what is important to you. And this is what I suggest. So we do handle things like insurances, budgeting, um, you know, investments, but the analysis itself doesn't cost anything. There are fee-based planners out there. They charge between 2,000 to 10,000 just to have a plan done. And then they say, okay, here's your plan, go implement it. That's not exactly how I work. I'm not a fee-based planner, so there's never you'll never get a bill from me for a conversation. Now, if we do implement some of the things that I do recommend, then the companies that we go through, whether it's for, an insurance or investment, then that company will compensate me on the back end. But as far as having a
Okay.
plan done or a budget, things like that, never a fee or anything like that. So
That's helpful to know too, because like the skeptic in me is like, okay, at some point, Marcel, you're getting paid. So where is that coming? Because and especially now, and going back to like the social media thing and what we were talking about
Mhm.
earlier with like the younger generations, like I
Yeah.
see it all the time. There's so many algorithms on social media. So like I get skeptical after a while of like I as a therapist, I get stuff all the time of like, hey, contact me. I can,
Right.
you can set up your practice for free
Yeah.
and all this
So,
stuff. And then like, the first one I reach out to and they're like, oh, there's like 16 things you have to pay for. And I'm like, okay, not really for free.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, well, that's not how I work at all. And I get the same thing. I get so many people that reach out to me, "Oh, you're a financial advisor. Come, get clients from us." Honestly, my practice has been growing pretty quickly, and it's because a lot of my clients have had such great experiences. In fact, they're like, "Thank you so much for this." Even my brother, after 4 meetings, was like asking our mom, like, "How does Marcel get paid?" And she's like, "Well, you have to buy something." But essentially, you'd be surprised. I'm here for the long haul. So most of our clients stay with us for 38 plus years. And that's because
wow.
honestly, I did not know how my advisor got paid. I because I was investing and saving on a regular basis. And as much as that money grew over time, I was like, there's no way he's getting paid. Like my money grew, like my brokerage account grew by like a 38%. And then my life insurance had cash that grew inside of it. So when I was transitioning out of my last job and I called, he was my first call. I was like, "Hey, I'm leaving my job. Am I going to be okay?" I turned out to be in better shape than had I put my money under a mattress or in a savings account. And I had no idea how he even got compensated for helping me save and invest on a consistent basis. But it was the best decision I ever made for myself financially. And I was like a new grandmother. My granddaughter turns 1 in 2 days. And I was like,
My gosh.
more, yeah. And I was like, more people need to know about this, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, congratulations again on being a grandmother. I can't believe you're like 37 and a grandmother. That just
Thank
seems
you.
nuts to me. I was barely married. I think I had actually I think I had my one of my kids at 37. So that's just like a whole
You look
nother
great though. No, you look fantastic.
thanks. But I would love, I mean, I want to offer like I would love to do this again. I feel like there's so
Yeah.
many more topics we can cover. Like, I feel like we barely scratched the surface in what
Yeah.
parents can do financially. So please, please, please consider for me that maybe we could do this again and just dive in deep with one topic. Maybe it's
Yeah.
college planning or something like that. But
Yeah.
I would love to do this again. I feel like this is so helpful. And again, I'll put something about our talk tonight on Facebook. And after I do that, if you want to put your contact information on that, that would be great. Cause I know there are Bay community members out there that would
Absolutely.
love some advice. I have certainly on more than one occasion. And by the way, yes, Marcel doesn't take money just talking to you, and I get nothing from her getting people referred to her. I mean, this is not the point. The point is
Right.
I'm always looking for people that are good resources and experts that can help parents be better parents. I'm always looking to be a better parent, and in our conversations that we had before tonight, I know that you're the same way. And so I knew you were a right fit for this, the parenting and mental health series. So thank you so much from the Bay
Absolutely.
community for being
Thank
on.
you for having
And
me.
I hope you'll come back and join us again
Absolutely.
another time.
I would love to come back again. Thank you so much.
Awesome.